Now we come to Sutta number 6.6.63. It's quite an important discourse. The Buddha said, "Monks, I will teach you a penetrative discourse, a Dhamma discourse. Listen, pay heed, I will speak." "Yes, Lord," rejoined those monks. And the Exalted One said, "And what, monks, is this penetrative discourse, this Dhamma discourse?" "Monks, sense desires or sensual desires must be discerned, their source, variety, fruit, ending, and the steps leading thereto. Monks, feelings, perceptions, asavas, karma, and dukkha must be discerned, their source, variety, fruit, ending, and the steps leading thereto must be discerned. Monks, it is said, sense desires, etc., must be discerned. And wherefore is this said? Monks, the strands or cords of sense desires are 5. Forms cognizable by the eye, luring, longed for, loved, enticing, lustful, impassioning. Sounds cognizable by the ear, smells by the nose, taste by the tongue, touches by the body, luring, longed for, loved, enticing, lustful, impassioning. Though these are not sense desires, monks, in the Aryan discipline, they are called the strands or cords of the sense desires. And what is the source of sense desires? Contact, monks. And what is sense desires variety? One sense desire is for forms, another for sounds, another for smells, another for taste, another for touch. This, monks, is called sense desires variety. And what is sense desires fruit? When desiring something, one engenders just that proper state of being to partake of merit or demerit. This, monks, is called sense desires fruit. And what is sense desires ending? Contact's ending is sense desires ending, monks. And just in this Aryan eightfold path are the steps leading thereto, namely right view, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And when the Aryan disciple thus knows sense desires, their source, variety, fruit, ending, and the steps leading thereto, he knows this penetrative holy life as sense desires ending. Monks, it is said, sense desires and so forth must be discerned, and because of this it is said. I'll just stop here to comment a bit. The strands or cords of sense desires, it's called karma guna, refers to the objects of the 5 senses, forms, sounds, smells, taste and touch. And sensual pleasure is the pleasure that arises owing to these 5 strands or cords of sense desires. And the source of sense desires is contact, because from contact you get feeling arising. And okay, then the next one, the Buddha continued. Monks, it is said, feelings must be discerned, etc. And wherefore? Monks, feelings are these 3. Feelings of pleasure, sukha, feeling of pain, dukkha, and feeling of neither pleasure nor pain. And what is feeling source? Contact, monks. And what is feelings variety? There are feelings of pleasure that are carnal. There are feelings of pleasure that are not. So too the feelings of pain and neither pain nor pleasure. This, monks, is called feelings variety. And what is feelings fruit? When feeling something, one engenders just that proper state of being to partake of merit or demerit. This, monks, is called feelings fruit. And what is feelings ending? Contact's ending, monks. And just in this Aryan Eightfold Path are the steps leading to feelings ending, right view, etc. And when the Aryan disciple thus knows feelings, feeling source, etc., he knows this penetrative holy life as feelings ending. Monks, it is said, feelings must be discerned, and because of this it is said. Okay, I'll stop here again to comment a bit. Feelings variety, there are feelings of pleasure and pain, and neither pleasure or pain, that are carnal, that means bodily, and also feelings of pleasure, pain, and neither pleasure nor pain that are not carnal, that means mental feelings. In other suttas, it is stated that there are two types of feelings. One is bodily feelings and mental feelings. And in the Samyutta Nikaya, it is said that bodily feelings arise from bodily contact, and mental feelings are those that arise from mental contact. I mean from thinking. And the Buddha continues, monks, it is said, perceptions must be discerned, etc. And wherefore? Monks, perceptions are these 6. Perceptions of forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and thoughts. And what is perception's source? Contact, monks. And what is perception's variety? There is one perception as to forms, another as to sounds, and so forth. This, monks, is called perception's variety. And what is perception's fruit? I say, monks, perceptions are the result of habit. As one comes to know a thing, so one expresses oneself. Thus I perceived. This, monks, is called perception's fruit. And what is perception's ending? Contact's ending, monks. And just in this Aryan Eightfold Path are the steps leading to perception's ending, right view, etc. And when the Aryan disciple thus knows perceptions, etc., he knows this penetrative holy life as perception's ending. Monks, it is said, perceptions must be discerned, etc. And because of this it is said. Stop here again. Perceptions are like a little like conceptions. Perceptions refer to, for example, we see colors, we say this is yellow, this is brown, this is red, etc. These are perceptions that we have in our mind. And other perceptions are like we see somebody and then we say that person is attractive or that person is repulsive, etc. So this again is kind of your own opinion. That is why the Buddha said here that perceptions are the result of habit. For example, because of habit or because of the way nature made us. So a man may look at a woman as attractive and a woman may look at a man as attractive. But they are the result of habit, and because they are the result of a habit, they can be changed. For example, if we practice the meditation on the 32 parts of the body, that's the practice of loathsomeness of the body, then we are able to change our perception from attraction of a body to the loathsomeness in a body. So that is only possible because perceptions are the result of habit. They are not something that's absolute. That's the main thing here about perceptions. And then the Buddha continues, monks, it is said, asavas must be discerned, etc. And wherefore, monks, asavas are these 3. Asava of lust, of becoming, of ignorance. And what is asava's source? Ignorance, monks. And what is asava's variety? There are asavas that lead to hell, to an animal's womb, to the realm of the ghosts, and to the world of man, and to the Deva world. This, monks, is called asava's variety. And what is asava's fruit? When ignorant, one engenders just that proper state of being to partake of merit and demerit. This, monks, is called asava's fruit. And what is asava's ending? Ending of ignorance, monks. And just in this Aryan Eightfold Path are the steps leading to the asava's ending, right view, etc. And when the Aryan disciple thus knows asavas, etc., he knows this penetrative holy life as asavas ending. Monks, it is said, asavas must be discerned, etc., and because of this it is said. We stop here a while to comment about asavas. Asavas can be translated as uncontrolled mental outflows. Uncontrolled mental outflows, and it refers to mainly to our defilements. Here the asavas are given as three: asava of lust, of becoming or existence, and of ignorance. And later in some suttas, a fourth asava was added, I think, on views. So now asavas give rise to 5 places of rebirth: to hell, to animals realm, to the ghost realm. These 3 are called the woeful planes, and then the human realm and the deva world. So there are 5 places of rebirth for every being. And later books added a 6th, which is the asura realm. But in the earliest discourses, asuras are considered as devas, heavenly beings. Now to continue, the Buddha said, monks, it is said, karma or action must be discerned, etc. And wherefore, monks, volition is karma, I say. When one wills, one acts through body, speech or mind. And what is karma's source? Contact, monks. And what is karma's variety? There is karma that is experienced in hell, in an animal's womb, in the ghost realm, in the human realm, in the deva world. This, monks, is called karma's variety. And what is karma's fruit? I say that it is threefold. It may either rise here now, or at another time, or on the way. This, monks, is called karma's fruit. And what is karma's ending? Contact's ending, monks. And just in this Aryan Eightfold Path are the steps leading to action's ending, or karma's ending, right view, etc. And when the Aryan disciple thus knows karma, etc., he knows the penetrative holy life as karma's ending. Monks, it is said, karma must be discerned, etc. And because of this, it is said. Stop here a while to comment on karma. Karma, here the Buddha makes a very important statement. Volition is karma, I say. In the Pali it is Cetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. So volition, the exercise of our will or volition, is karma. That means karma can be translated as intentional action. Any action that is done with intention or purposely. And that is karma. And then that can be done through the body, speech or mind. Through the body we do the karma of, for example, killing or stealing or committing adultery. Through speech we can lie. We can create other verbal karma, and through the mind we can have intense hatred, etc. And now karma, it is said there is the fruit of karma, which is, the Pali word is vipaka, the result of karma is vipaka, is threefold. It may ripen here and now, or at another time, or on the way. In some other suttas, it is stated that all karma have the potential to ripen. But in some other sutta, it's also stated that not all karma will ripen. If all karma has to ripen, then it will be quite impossible for us to get out of the cycle of existence. And because not all karma will ripen, that it is possible for us to get out of the round of rebirths. Now the Buddha continues, monks, it is said, dukkha or suffering must be discerned with source, variety, fruit, ending, and the steps leading thereto. And wherefore is this said? Being born is dukkha, aging is dukkha, sickening is dukkha, dying is dukkha. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair are dukkha. Not to get what one wants is dukkha. In short, the 5 aggregates of clinging is dukkha. And what is dukkha's source? Craving, monks. And what is dukkha's variety? Dukkha that is above measure, dukkha that is trifling, dukkha that is quick to change, and dukkha that is slow to change. This, monks, is called dukkha's variety. And what is dukkha's fruit? Consider one overcome by dukkha, in mind forspent. He grieves, mourns, laments, beats his breast, and becomes bewildered, or roams abroad in search of one who knows a spell or two to end his dukkha. Dukkha yields bewilderment and search, I say. This, monks, is called dukkha's fruit. And what is dukkha's ending? Cravings ending, monks. And just in this Aryan Eightfold Path are the steps leading to dukkha's ending, namely right view, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right concentration. And when the Aryan disciple thus knows dukkha, its source, variety, fruit, ending and the steps leading thereto, then he knows this penetrative holy life as dukkha's ending. Monks, it is said, dukkha must be discerned, etc. And because of this it is said, verily, monks, such is this penetrative discourse, this Dhamma discourse. That's the end of the sutta. So the last part here is about dukkha or suffering. Dukkha can be translated as suffering or sorrow or unsatisfactoriness, etc. Now here dukkha is generally defined as being born is dukkha, aging is dukkha, sickening, dying is dukkha, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair, dukkha. Not to get what one wants is dukkha. In short, the 5 aggregates of clinging is dukkha. The 5 aggregate of clinging is basically body and mind. The mind part consists of 4 things, feelings, perception, volition and consciousness. So these 4 things plus body makes up the 5 aggregates of clinging. These are the 5 things that we all cling to and which we all consider to be the self. Whenever you refer to yourself in the past life or in the future life or in the present life, you always refer to yourself in connection with these 5 things, these 5 aggregates: body, feelings, perception, volition, consciousness, these 5 things. And it is because of clinging to these 5 things that suffering arises. Now, there are some dukkha that is above measure, that means very extreme, very great. Then some dukkha that is trifling, some dukkha that is quick to change, and some dukkha that is slow to change. And then when one is overcome by dukkha, one grieves, mourns, laments, beats his breast and becomes bewildered, or roams about in search of one who knows a spell or two to end the dukkha. Dukkha yields bewilderment and search, I say. Now this dukkha yields bewilderment and search. It is because of this result of dukkha that dukkha is a very good teacher. If not for dukkha, we would not want to walk this spiritual path. It is because as we go through life and we suffer, then we get bewildered and then we search for a way to end our dukkha. And if we are sincere enough, we will come across the right Dhamma that will lead us out of suffering. So dukkha is the best teacher in the world. If a person has not had enough of dukkha, then if you try to teach him the spiritual path, he would not be interested. It is only at a certain time when a person is spiritually mature through suffering, then that person is interested to cultivate the holy life, to end dukkha. 6.6.64 Monks, there are these 6 Tathagata powers of a Tathagata, possessed of which the Tathagata claims the place of the bull, roars the lion roar in assemblies, and sets a-rolling the Brahma wheel. What 6? Herein, monks, the Tathagata knows as it really is the possible as possible, and the impossible as impossible. In that the Tathagata knows this, it is the Tathagata's Tathagata power, whereby the Tathagata claims the place of the bull, roars the lion roar in assemblies, and sets a-rolling the Brahma wheel. Again, the Tathagata knows as it really is the result, with its possibilities and causes, of karmas undertaken in respect of the past, karma or action undertaken in respect of the past, present and future. In that he knows this, he sets a-rolling the Brahma wheel. He knows the stain, purity and emergence in regard to the jhanas, liberations and concentrations and attainments. He remembers many a previous life, one birth, 2, 3, etc., so forth. He remembers each in all its modes and detail. With the purified Deva eye, surpassing the human eye, he sees the passing away and reappearance of beings, each according to his karma. Destroying the asavas, the Tathagata enters and abides in liberation by mind, in liberation by wisdom, asava-free. In that the Tathagata so abides, it is the Tathagata's Tathagata power, whereby the Tathagata claims the place of the bull, roars the lion roar in assemblies, and sets a-rolling the Brahma wheel. Monks, these are the 6. And if monks, others come and question the Tathagata because of his knowledge, as it really is, of the possible as possible, according as the Tathagata's knowledge as it really is, of the possible as possible, prevails. So the Tathagata explains to them by knowledge as it really is when questioned. And if others come and question him because of his knowledge as it really is, of the result of karmas undertaken, the stain, purity and emergence in regard to jhana, etc., previous lives, the passing and reappearance of beings, or of asava destruction, according as his knowledge prevails, so he explains to them when questioned. Now this knowledge as it really is, of the possible as possible, impossible as impossible, I declare it to be the possession of the concentrated, not of the unconcentrated. So too the knowledge as it really is of the other 5. I declare them to be the possession of the concentrated, not of the unconcentrated. Thus verily monks, concentration is the way, non-concentration the no-whither way. That's the end of the sutta. Here the Buddha is first talking about the powers of a Tathagata or a Buddha. A Tathagata means the thus gone one. This is one of the 10 names of the Buddha. And here there is given 6 powers of the Buddha. In some other suttas, the 10 powers of the Tathagata are enumerated. And the powers here is he knows the possible as possible and the impossible as impossible. And then he knows the possibilities, causes, etc. of the actions undertaken, or karma undertaken. Then he knows the stain, purity and emergence in regard to the jhanas, liberations, concentrations and attainments. Then he remembers previous lives. Then he has the purified Deva eye, which can see the passing away and reappearance of beings. And then the last one is he has destroyed the asavas and attains liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom. So now the Buddha at the end says that these higher knowledges attained because of concentration, samadhi. And concentration or samadhi in the suttas is always defined as one-pointedness of mind or the 4 jhanas. And now the jhanas are synonymous to satipatthana, because satipatthana means intense states of mindfulness. And we can see in the Samyutta Nikaya, when the Venerable Anuruddha was asked what is the cause of his great psychic power, and then he said it is satipatthana. But we know that psychic power is always due to the jhanas, so this shows that jhanas are synonymous with satipatthana. And also because it is stated that the mark of Satipatthana is the mark of Samadhi. Once a person has Samadhi or the jhanas, then he automatically has the Satipatthana. That is why in the suttas the Buddha said that once you attain Satipatthana, then you abandon the practice because you already it's already automatic. The jhanas are also called the footsteps of the Buddha, and here you can see that the jhanas are declared by the Buddha to be very important, because the Buddha said concentration is the way, no concentration the no way. In Pali it is samadhi mago, samadhi kumago. Samadhi is concentration, mago is the way. So samadhi is no concentration, is kumago. Kumago is wrong way, or here it is said to be no way. So samadhi is the way, no samadhi, no way. So it's very clear in the Buddha's teachings that samadhi is very important. There's no way, no path in the Buddha's teachings without samadhi. And this is also confirmed in the Anguttara Nikaya 4.170, where we heard earlier, the Venerable Ananda said there's only 4 ways to attainment of arahanthood. The first one is samatha, first followed by vipassana. The second one is vipassana followed by samatha. The third is samatha and vipassana together. The fourth is meditation on the self until the mind becomes one-pointed and the way becomes clear. Now, in one of the suttas in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha said that the true Dhamma will vanish in the future because of no respect, no veneration for the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, no veneration for the training, and no veneration or respect for Samadhi. So, if we neglect Samadhi, this will cause the disappearance of the true Dhamma. And here it is very clear that the Buddha's way is concentration. Samadhi mago, samadhi kumago. Now we come to the next sutta, 6.7.68. Verily, monks, that a monk delighting in company, delighted by company, absorbed in the delights of company, delighting in gatherings, delighted by gatherings, absorbed in the delights of gatherings, shall find delight alone in seclusion. That cannot be. And that without finding delight in seclusion, he shall grasp the reflection of mind or the characteristic of mind. That cannot be. And that without so grasping, he shall become perfect in right view. That cannot be. And that without becoming perfect in right view, he shall become perfect in right concentration. That cannot be. And that without becoming perfect in right concentration, he shall abandon the fetters. That cannot be. And that without abandoning the fetters, he shall realize Nibbana. That cannot be. That's the end of the sutta. So just now this sutta, the Buddha is saying that seclusion is necessary to finally attain Nibbana. You must have seclusion. Without seclusion, you cannot grasp the reflection of mind or the characteristic of mind, cittasa nimitta. And that without grasping the reflection of mind, you shall attain right view. That cannot be. And without attaining right view, you shall attain right concentration. That cannot be. And without right concentration, you shall abandon the fetters and realize Nibbana. That cannot be. So, seclusion is another one of the factors that are very important in the holy life, as taught by the Buddha. We find in many suttas, the Buddha said that certain monks lived alone, and then they strove very hard and attained arahanthood. There's a well-known Indian saying that goes like this: the holy path is the path of the alone, to the alone, by the alone. This path to to Nibbana, to get out of samsara, is to be attained one by one. And this sutta also is quite clear that right concentration is very important for Nibbana. Without right concentration, the jhanas, it is impossible to abandon the fetters and attain Nibbana. The next sutta is 6.7.69. Now when the night was well advanced, a deva, shedding rays of far-reaching loveliness over Jeta grove, visited the Exalted One, saluted and stood at one side. And so standing, he spoke thus to the Exalted One: Lord, there are these 6 things that lead not to a monk's falling away. What 6? Reverence for teacher, reverence for Dhamma, reverence for the Sangha, reverence for the training, meekness, and having good friends. Lord, these 6 things lead not to a monk's falling away. Thus spoke that Deva, and the teacher approved. And the Deva, perceiving that the master agreed, saluted and disappeared thence, keeping the Exalted One on his right. Now at the end of that night, the Exalted One addressed the monks and told them all that had passed. And when he had spoken, the Venerable Sariputta saluted the Exalted One and said, Lord, the meaning of the Exalted One's brief words I thus understand in full. Suppose, Lord, a monk himself reveres the teacher and praises such reverence. He will instill such reverence in others who lack it, and of those who possess it, he will speak in praise, justly, truly, and timely. So too, of reverence for the Dhamma, reverence for the Sangha, reverence for the training, meekness, and having good friends. It is thus I understand in full the Exalted One's brief words. Well said, Sariputta, it is just as you say. And Sariputta, thus the full meaning of my brief words ought to be understood. That's the end of the sutta. So in this sutta, these 6 things are important for a monk: to have veneration for the teacher, the Buddha, veneration for Dhamma, and veneration for the Sangha, veneration for the training. A monk's training includes the precepts and other things that a monk must learn. And meekness is a quality a monk should possess, not to be aggressive, to be meek and gentle. And having good friends. Good friends are those who are knowledgeable in the Dhamma or interested in the Dhamma, and who practice the holy life. Because as we practice the holy life with good friends, we support each other, encourage each other, and that is important because there are times when a person may get discouraged, especially a person who is new on the holy path. Okay, the next sutta, 6.7.70, the Buddha said, Verily, monks, that a monk without the peace of concentration in high degree, without attaining to calm, without winning one-pointedness, shall have part in the many psychic powers. Being one, he becomes many. Being many, he becomes one. He reaches in body even as far as the Brahma world. That cannot be. Shall hear with the purified Deva ear, surpassing man's, sounds of Devas and men, far and near. That cannot be. Shall know by mind, compassing mind, the thoughts of other folk, other persons, the passionate as such, the unemancipated as such. That cannot be. Shall call to mind many a previous life, 1 birth, 2 births, etc. That cannot be. Shall see with the Deva eye the faring of men. That cannot be. Shall enter and abide in liberation by mind, liberation by wisdom, asava. That cannot be. That's the end of the sutta. Here the Buddha is saying, without the peace of concentration in high degree, without attaining to calm, without winning one-pointedness, a person cannot have the various psychic powers and cannot attain liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom, asava free. So, here again we find the importance of samadhi or the jhanas being stressed. Jhanas are necessary for psychic power, And that's why just now I mentioned Venerable Anuruddha said that the cause of his psychic power is Satipatthana, which just shows that Satipatthana is synonymous with jhanas. In Anguttara Nikaya, one of the suttas we have read earlier, it is stated that Sotapanna and Sakadagamin have perfect sila, and Anagamin have perfect sila and samadhi, and an Arahant has perfect sila, samadhi and panya. So all Anagamis, the third fruition Arya, and Arahants, the fourth fruition Arya, must possess perfect samadhi, perfect concentration. That means the jhanas. Is another sutta from which it is quite clear that jhanas are necessary. Now the next sutta is 6.8.78. Monks, if a monk follows 6 things, he will live here and now in great happiness and contentment, and for him the mole has begun to form for destroying the asavas. What 6? Herein a monk delights in Dhamma, in development, bhavana, in renunciation or abandoning, in total seclusion, in being free of ill will, and in non-proliferation of thoughts. Nippapancha. Monks, if a monk follow these 6 things, he will live in great happiness, here and now, and contentment, and for him the mole has begun to form for destroying the asavas. That's the end of the sutta. Destroying the asavas means becoming an arahant. And these 6 things are important. He delights in Dhamma, that means he loves the Dhamma, loves to study or listen to Dhamma and discuss Dhamma. In development, bhavana. Development means development of the mind. Bhavana, and that means practicing meditation and especially attaining samadhi. Because when a person attains samadhi, the hindrances are abandoned. Third one is renunciation, abandoning, letting go. Fourth one is total seclusion, paviveka. Total seclusion or aloofness, being aloof from others, and then being free of ill will, not to have anger. And the last one is non-proliferation of thoughts, nippapancha. For most people, there is always a proliferation of thoughts. One thought becomes 10, 10 becomes 100, etc. And non-proliferation of thoughts can be attained when we attain one-pointedness of mind, when we attain the jhanas. Then we experience a bliss, a happiness, free of thinking. And that happiness which is free of thinking surpasses the happiness of thinking. It is only through that that we can renounce thinking.